How's it going? It's Nathan Hawken here. One of the things I talk about a lot, particularly being a coach, is the power of questions. Questions are very important and very powerful, especially when I'm trying to bring out someone's internal challenges, their internal conflicts, their core desires, what they really want to achieve for, helping them think bigger than they ever have before. Questions are one of the most powerful tools that I can ever use to bring that out in a client. And for me, there has been a single question that literally saved my life. Now, I wasn't at the brink of death or anything like that, but this is the question that I asked myself that completely changed my life and has led me to where I am now. I wanted to share this story with you because I hope it brings you an insight to assist you with what you want to achieve, to assist you in your future desires, or even just to bring an insight into what could be possible for you. The story I'm about to share with you is my story. It's a story of where I was, what happened, and where I am now. And it can be difficult for me to talk about at times because it was a moment where I was really at rock bottom. I was really struggling at that time, but it was a certain moment where a question was asked, and I actually asked myself this question, that significantly changed the way I started to think. So let me give you a little bit of backstory. So at the time, and this is going back like 11, 12 years ago now, so it was a long time ago. And at the time I was working as a coffee sales rep. Now I love the job. I love coffee. And the role was as a sales rep. I was selling coffee beans from a local roaster to cafes, to restaurants, some offices as well. I was doing barista classes, so I was teaching at-home baristas how to make coffee. I was learning how to, like the roasting process. I was learning a lot about coffee, and I was drinking a lot of coffee every single day. I think I was averaging like 5 or 6 cups at the time. It was amazing. I even had a great coffee machine at home, which at the time I really couldn't afford, but I loved it so much. And it was a bit of a shame when I had to leave it in Australia when I moved over to Dublin. But at the time, working in this role, I was there for 3 years. It was good. Like the role itself was good, but life wasn't. I wasn't making nearly enough money that I needed to. I was working a second job on the side, a couple of days in a restaurant. So I was tired, generally speaking. I was tired in general, but on top of that, I'd never learned that I could work on myself or anything like that. I was very introvert, very enclosed, way more enclosed than I am now. I'm certainly not very closed off. I'm still introvert, yes. At the time, I was struggling to figure out and be comfortable with who I am, right? And really be comfortable in my own skin. Now, as well as that, my wife was struggling with her own mental health and she wasn't able to work. And so I was the breadwinner for the family. I was working, I was doing a couple of nights, my wife was at home during the day, and she was struggling, which meant that I was also struggling at the same time. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but inside me, my own mental health was really starting to suffer. Not only was I struggling to make ends meet and struggling to make enough money to actually get ahead, but I was struggling to not take on my wife's mental health issues. I was struggling with my own mental health issues. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was getting depressed. I was really starting to get low and I was starting to get down. And I didn't recognize what it was at the time. But I certainly wasn't able to handle life effectively. I certainly wasn't able to take control of anything. I wasn't able to just deal with anything. I just pushed everything down. I was in the habit of, no matter what I was feeling, no matter how bad I was feeling, I was just pushing it all down and just like, all right, just got to get on with it. Just got to go on with it. Just got to get on with it. And that was my go-to response for everything. Never really taking the time to figure out what was going on. So in reality, I didn't know I had a problem. Not consciously anyway. But I was sad and I was struggling. And it got to the point where slowly but surely it was starting to come out in little bits here and there, where out of nowhere I would just suddenly feel down or unable to deal with the day. I might have a conversation with someone and it would bring up something inside me and I would just be struggling. And there are other times where instead of actually going out, so I was a on the road coffee rep. So I was going into cafes in the car, supposed to be working with or speaking to cafe clients about selling them coffee. But there were days when, for whatever reason, something was triggered in me and I would pull into a quiet suburban street somewhere in Canberra, where I was from, and I was just in my car in tears, and I was crying and I was crying, and I just didn't know what was going on. There'd be times where I was just sitting there for half an hour or an hour and I was just in bits. And eventually I'd have to kind of just pull myself together, not do anything about it, and then just get on with my day, go home, deal with life, and then just repeat. And that went on for a while, until the moment came when I'd call it my breaking point. And this was the time when one day everything just became too much. Now, I don't know how much time had passed from when I started to feel that way until this day. Maybe it was a year, maybe it was a couple of years. I actually honestly can't remember. It's all a bit of a blur now. But there was one day when I came home, and what I would typically do is walk through the door, say hi to my wife, have a chat, start making dinner and get on with things at home. But this day, something changed. And even instead of saying hi to my wife, I came into the door, looked at her, and then just went straight into the bedroom. Got in bed, went under the sheets, and I literally just broke down. I was crying, I was upset, I could barely even speak to my wife. I was just in absolute bits. And that was the moment where I just broke. I broke inside because everything that I'd been pushing down had all just come up to the surface. It was the moment where it all just came out. And I had no idea what to do. No idea. I was in that moment where I was just questioning life in general. And this is where the big question came in. This is where that question that redefined my life came in. And as I was crying and I was down, my wife was trying to find out what was going on. I don't know where it came from, but I asked the question. And the question was, I was saying to myself, man, is this all there is to life? Is this what life is? Right? Is it supposed to be this hard? Is it supposed to be, am I supposed to feel like this? Is this all there is to life? And what I found really interesting, and this is something I've reflected upon and looked back on so many times, is that when I asked that question, an answer came back. And it was my voice in my head. When I said, is this all there is to life? A voice came back saying, no. There's more. And when I heard that, I didn't know what it was. I recognize now that it was my unconscious mind giving me the answer that I need to kind of push myself out of this, or get myself out of this mess. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. But what I took from it was, there is more for me. I need to go find out what that is. I had no idea what it meant. I had no idea what that more is, or what I need to do. But something clicked inside me. Something changed at a deep level, where possibility started to come into it. Now, I wasn't a dreamer. I wasn't thinking about making millions or building a huge successful company or anything like that. I just knew that I had to do something. And so when I had that moment and I got myself back together, and over a couple of days, I started to think about it. I was like, okay, right. Well, if there's more, what can I do? What can I do? Well, what's the number one problem right now? I thought it was money. Naturally, it's like a go-to thing. I thought it was money. So I thought, right, okay, I need to make more money. I can't be working night shifts in a restaurant while working full-time, while taking care of stuff at home. It's too much. Of course I was burning out. So what can I do? Need to make more money. Right. How can I do that? And then I started to have some conversations with people where I was sharing what I was feeling. Not what was going on with me, just more like, I need to make more money. How can I do that? And so a few suggestions came back where it's like, hey, read some sales book, right? You're in sales. I was like, yeah, I've heard of people getting rich selling in sales. So yeah, that makes sense. Why don't I become better at sales? Why don't I read some sales books, do some sales courses? Why don't I start to grow a little bit? And so I did that. I read some sales books, I learned some sales techniques, I watched a few sales courses online, and over a period of time, that helped me a little. But what that really led me to was this, and this is another pivotal moment. It was when it wasn't about the sales, because behind all the sales books and techniques, there was an undertone of personal development. And that's where I started to get into guys like Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, and all those guys, Bob Proctor. And that was the moment where I had another realization. And it was, if I wanted to change my external world, if I wanted to have a better life, then I needed to be better. I needed to be better inside myself. And that was the pivotal moment, which had come from that initial question of, is this all there is to life? To, I need to work on me. I need to be better. If anything else is going to change, I need to change myself. So then from that moment, that led me into a huge wave of personal development, personal growth, probably too much at times as well, because I was just gung-ho with it all. I was trying to consume everything and anything that was essentially personal development related. I went through my NLP training and did all that, which is all amazing. I wasn't producing as much results in the beginning, but the most important thing is that it helped me discover me. It helped me over a period of time and over the years, now that it's been around 12 years since that day, it helped me work on myself to a point where I'm way more comfortable in my own skin, way more happy with who I am, that it led me to who I am now and where I am now. If it wasn't for that initial question, going through that breakdown moment where I was just in bits and not finding the answer, if it wasn't for that answer that came up, which led to understanding that I need to work on myself, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have found my passion work as a coach. I wouldn't have gone through what I've gone through to get to where I am now and the work that I've done on myself. And so I share this story with you for one main reason. What are you not asking yourself to find the answer that you need? What's the question that's missing? Or what's the pressing question that you have for you that'll just change everything, that'll bring you an insight or an answer that'll just shift everything for you? Now, if you don't know what that question is, or you're struggling to come up with it, look, let's talk, or leave a comment below. But I can guarantee you this, you have the answer inside you already. If you're feeling fulfilled, if you're not feeling successful, if you're in stress and overwhelm right now, hey, I get it. Maybe you're at breaking point and this video just hits you at the right moment. I get it, right? I get it, I've been there. A single question can produce an insight that'll redefine your journey. We just have to ask the right question and then listen to the answer that comes up. But I hope this video has served you, and this video is a turning point for you no matter where you are. If it has served you, let me know. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.